Welcome back to the final bell, right? 6th episode. I am so grateful. Listen, I got one of my special guests here, this young lady. Let me tell you, I'm just gonna tell you little basic things about her. Her name is Danielle Summers. She's a financial advisor, but Morgan came through our program, and now she's helping athletes all over the world learn the importance of finances. Morgan, thank you for coming. I'm so happy to see you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. So Morgan, let me ask you a question. Just, we're going to jump right into this financial thing because so many athletes out here, they just, they don't have an idea about finance. And so how do you get athletes involved? How do you get the attention? What is your method in terms of helping these young players, especially these young ones in high school, all the way up to college, and then you got the NIL deal. So can you speak on that a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So my strategy is just starting early. And then also speaking their language. So instead of using the big terminology that we use with these financial institutions, and when I'm talking to more so someone who's been around money for so long, I talk to them just about what are they interested in, relating a playbook to a financial plan, relating how you have to start learning this stuff, and it's going to take repetition, just like it is going to the gym and practicing. You're not going to be perfect right off the bat. If I threw you in, if you are 7 years old, like when I started basketball, and if I got thrown into a college game, I wouldn't know what to do.
Right.
I would be lost. But over the years, I've been practicing to where when I got to college and I was able to play, it felt like second nature. Wow. And I was prepared.
That is so wonderful. That's so prepared. Young people listening to this, prepared. Preparation and opportunity they have to meet.
Yes.
Now, it's a large majority of players, once they finish with their career, they're broke. They have no money. They have no resources. Would you touch on that? What is the percentages of that? And then how do we fight against that in terms of helping these young players understand while they're playing how to preserve your money and place it and that type of thing? Can you touch on that for me?
Absolutely. And the statistic behind how many athletes go broke, unfortunately, is very high at 78% after 3 years after they retire. Wow. But on the other side of that is that 58% of elite athletes surveyed all around the world have said that they actually do want to take an interest in learning about financial literacy and learning the mechanics around how to preserve their money, like what you were talking about. So what's been holding them back? It's just the lack of resources, lack of access, lack of putting the emphasis on financial education as a number one priority versus just handing it off to somebody. But I also get as far as time management.
Yes.
When you do make that transition from college to the professional level, it is a fast-paced change of the world, and you're just trying to get accustomed to that whole new world, and you go from just being a kid to being a business owner at the end of the day.
Yes.
And having to build a team around you.
Yes.
All of a sudden, you're 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old, and you have a CPA, financial advisor, business manager, all these a nutrition, all these people surrounding you, and you're just like, I just want to play the game.
Yes. And that's the thing, though, Dee, what I see, and just from my experience alone, having the right environment and the right people around you that's going to give you the right information and it's going to be truthful, that's going to tell you the truth. Because a lot of people in your space, right? A lot of people in your space, they tell you the things that you want to hear because they want to stay in your space. So it's just touch on a little bit how important it is just to have the right environment, a type of people around you that really have your best interests at heart. And then two, how do you seek and find those people, right? How do you find those people and those type of resources?
That is exactly right, what you said, having the right people surrounded by you, those people that really truly care about you. And you'll be able to know, do they go above and beyond for you through the good and the bad? Where are they when those bad times happen to you? Are they still around you, or are they only there to celebrate all the wins? Are they only looking for the end results of, and especially in my space, are they only looking just for the money at the end of it? Or are they actually taking the time to educate you, educate your family as well? Because that's something that you love too.
Absolutely.
And you want to bring them up. But how about we educate everybody around them? And as far as where do you find those people, I think it's just making sure that you take the time to interview them and really see who they are as a person.
Right.
Take away all the awards and acknowledgement and skills. Who are they as a person at the end of the day?
Absolutely.
That's where you're going to find those good people who are going to go to bat for you and really make sure that you're going to get from point A to point B to create that sustainable wealth that doesn't just last your career,
Right.
but over your entire life. And then over for your children as well, and then the next generation too.
I like the word you say, sustainable. Sustainable, that's a very powerful word. One of the things that we do, and I'm so grateful and so happy that you're part of the Financial Initiative Program with my program, Team Bobel, and we start as young as 5 years old,
Yes.
educating them. So Danielle actually come in and she do all these programs catered to those ages, which has been amazing. But not only that, what we doing, which is great, and we hope that other programs adopt this philosophy, is not only she's educating the little kids, she's educating the high school kids, but she's educating the parents as well, which is amazing. How important do you think that is, that program? Do you think this type of program should be scaled with other programs? I do, and I just want to get your feedback on that.
Absolutely. I first have to say that you, talking about just surrounding yourself by good people, I've been through your program, and that is why we've always been so close as well. Like, our families have been super close because you've always cared about going beyond just what happens on the court. So that just says a lot and is a huge testament to you and who you are. And then building out this financial initiative as well, and especially you were doing it before the NIL came out. So, I mean, if 78% of athletes already go broke just from making that huge transition, now they're getting money so much earlier. And there's no sort of education component there to give them that foundation to know really, and it's so important because what we talk about in those programs is giving them scenarios to start thinking about it before they actually are there. So I know people say a budget. I don't want to live off of a budget.
Yeah.
Or if I'm going to make it, I'm going to have money for years. It's going to be I'm going to be a millionaire.
Right.
Well, let's start thinking about that.
Right, absolutely.
Go out and if you say, I asked them, if I gave you, if I gave you $1 million right now, what would you do? And getting them to start to think about those things. And so some of them will say, I want a house, I want a car, I want this, I want shoes. And then I go, okay, what happens if that car breaks down? Did you think about that?
Wow.
Or you want to start a business. Okay, that's great. Now, what about all the other things that go underneath that?
Absolutely. Well, and I think it comes down to accountability, right? I think we as coaches, and I'm speaking as coaches, whether you have a mentor or what have you, we have to give the kids more, right? We have to start early. And I think that with this program and that philosophy, because here's the thing, the power of basketball is so powerful because there's so much life fiber inside of it if it's used the right way.
Yes.
And a lot of people abuse it because they just want the trophies and they want to run. But if you take this basketball and you utilize that, okay, because you're saying, okay, here's a basketball, but kind of like when you shake my hand, look me in my eyes type stuff. Okay, take this financial initiative program because we got the basketball. So I think having that approach in some of these programs, I think we all have a responsibility because we have our children, we have our future. So we have to use basketball for more. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. And this is the message that I hope that most of the people that are watching, especially if you're working with our children, right, to adopt some type of philosophy in terms of, the education enhancement program, our health and wellness nutritional program, and the financial. So we got to make sure that we have what we call a holistic approach to this whole thing, not just trying to win these trophies. And that's why I'm so proud of you opening your mind and just, saying, look, let me be a bigger part of something bigger than me. That's what it's all about. Let me be a bigger part. And I'm so grateful that you took that position to help us with our program, because what it does, it opens the mind. And that's all we want. We just got to open their mind. And when we open their mind, then you can sow into them. But
Absolutely.
I'm so grateful. Now we're going to jump on in now. Let's jump into some girls basketball. Because I know you was a hooper yourself. Tell them a little bit about yourself, your history, real quick, just a brief bio, real quick. Just tell them about yourself.
Yes, so played basketball ever since I was 7 years old. Don't let this smile fool you. When I was on the court, I was a completely different person, locked in, and Coach Bo will tell you that too. Sometimes you'd be like, it's okay, you can smile sometimes. But yes, played basketball, born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. Went to Wesleyan High School, won some state championships there. Then played in college, Rose College, won a championship there as well my senior year, and couldn't stay away from the game, but just leveraging my knowledge of what I've learned from my parents and just the importance of financial literacy and building wealth and generational wealth, and that's how I've been able to combine the two.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna jump on. Let's talk about South Carolina. Let's talk about this coach.
Yes.
Dawn Stanley,
legend.
Oh my God, is she legit?
Yes.
She's the real deal. Now, let me tell you, she is the best basketball coach in the land.
She really is.
And my thing is, who's gonna finish second? Who's gonna finish second with that team? Who is gonna finish second? So, what do you think about her movement? Because when the coach from UConn, when he was in that position, he was winning, but now all of a sudden she's winning, and running through the country and doing her thing. Some people, it kind of rubbing people the wrong way. So what do you think about her position and the influence that she have on the overall game in that league? What do you think about that?
I think that she's figured out how to really bring the best out of all of her players. Because I can really tell at every single game, those girls give it their all. They got this fire inside of them. But where do they get that fire from? If you've ever seen her coach, she is very passionate. She's giving it her all, and she just knows how to make people do the same things. So I don't think this is the end of their reign. They're going to keep on going.
I agree with you 100%. But, the coach is a connection to the players.
Yes.
Now, it's a reflection and a connection. And what I mean by that, Dawn was a hell of a player too, herself. She played with, like how she coached is how she played. And so that kind of translated to her players. And you said it right. She's able to maximize all the potential in her players. And you can see the whole connection where her players are like, man, they really enjoy being around her. So if somebody want to really play for you and they enjoy the game, that's so powerful. That's going to be hard to beat, man. That's going to be hard to beat. So I just want to say shout out to Dawn Stanley, man. Keep up the good work, man. You're doing an amazing job. That is so awesome. But, yeah, man, let's jump on John Morant, man. I mean, look, I'm just curious what's going to happen, how they're going to handle that situation. And I'm going to speak just coming from a male point of view, if you don't mind, and coming from my circumstances. I just think that kind of what you said earlier, young kid, still trying to figure it out. You got all these people around you, and they want to be a part, and he want to, kind of be in the clique, kind of. But what do you have to understand, now you can't be in the clique. Because now, what you said earlier, you are an enterprise. You are a corporation. Now you have to manage your business accordingly, if you want to sustain and stay at a certain level. I think that was more, and I think he's a good kid. I think he's not a problem kid. He's just a kid that's got to figure out, how this thing's supposed to go. But in the process, before all of that, he had to figure out who he is. And I think he's searching to find that out. And so some of these antics, that's not really who he is. And so what do you think about that?
I think going along with him being a business and what I was saying and what you just echoed as well is that he's a brand.
Yeah.
And I think that, in all honesty, I hope that this is a lesson for athletes moving forward, that you are a brand every single day. And people are watching the things that you do and your reputation, how you move, who you surround yourself by. But I also think mentorship is so important. I can't stress that enough, to have somebody just say, hey, look, you can't do that, and stop you before you do it, or start putting in the right character skills in place so that you can know, okay, this is who I'm striving to be. This is the brand I'm striving to be. And if this is who the brand or the person I'm trying to be, these are the things I need to do. But at the same time, too, I agree with you that it's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot that people don't understand being in the league and at that high level and with all eyes on you. And at such a young age, at such a young age to manage all of it, it's a lot of pressure. And it's just like you don't know which way to go and who's honestly there for you sometimes. It starts to get blurred. And so I would say that what he's going through, I think that you honestly just need to know the full picture of what he's actually dealing with. And it's unfortunate the consequences that he has to deal with. But
yes. And see, the thing is, these kids, they goes from, being a kid, from being the breadwinner.
yes,
And that's tough. He's still really on his rookie deal, technically.
yes.
He's still on his rookie deal. So
And he's a dad on top of that.
Yes.
Like, he has a lot going on from that aspect as well.
yes. But when you watch some of his, just some of the people around him, like, it's hard not to get caught in the hype. You
Yes.
telling a kid,
Yes.
it's so, to his defense, it's so hard not to, but you have to have a stronger will. And I always go back to LeBron. LeBron is an exception, right? He hired all these guys, he put all the right people around him, all the boys that he came through with, they had his agent, they had his advisors, they had his security. He put everybody around him early who he know that had his best interests at heart. So any of those guys can pull LeBron and say, look, hey, man, no, that's not right. He going to listen to them because he trusts them. And so I think most of these athletes, man, they have to get people around them, keep people around them that they can trust, especially a lot of times the people who was there with them in the beginning are the people that they need to stay with in most cases. Before they even was a basketball player. Those are the type of people that they need to keep around them because those most likely are the people that really care about them genuinely. So that's pretty much what I think.
No, I agree with that. I definitely echo that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes. And so what's worse with Ja, he's done what Kyrie has done. You know what I mean? I mean, the guy is so talented.
He is. He really is.
I mean, it's like you're just one of those kids. Look, God said, "Woof," and this is yours. You know what I'm saying? And then the other thing is, and this is what I tell kids all the time:
Yes.
bigger is not always better. Like he didn't go to a big major university. They discovered him in a gym outside of where everybody else was at playing, and they found him. Went to Murray State or somewhere like that. Don't quote me. Murray State. I think he did. Yeah, but my point is this. Go to a situation where you're going to be able to express your talents and play and have fun. Don't always go just because you got a name and you caught in the hype. So that's always been my recommendation to players. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you think about Lamar Jackson? I know we're jumping around, but it's a lot of stuff going on, man. We got to talk, man. This contract, you'll be able to touch more on this contract thing. Like, what do you think about, you got all these guys, these quarterbacks they gave money to, and they questioning this guy, MVP Super Bowl. I mean, all the success he had, and they don't want to give him a max deal.
In the media, they keep on saying he doesn't have an agent, but he has an agent.
Come on, man.
But it's his mother, but they're just trying to discredit the mother just because she's not like, that's not her like number one job and that's not what she's been doing.
Right.
But in all honesty, I think the mother is the best agent because the mother is going to have her child's best interests at heart. And she's going to go to bat for her child. And going back to what you said as far as surrounding yourself by the right people who truly care,
yes,
nothing's like a mother's love.
Right,
so.
absolutely. And I was wondering why they handle that situation so different. Typically, when they got the agents and all that involved, it's handled a little bit different. So I was always wondering why they was handling that situation like that because with his credentials and the things that he's done for that city, for that program, for that for that whole just everything, he deserved more. Because you look at what they do for Deshaun Watson,
yeah.
The money that he got guaranteed, 200 and some change guaranteed money. I think he should, if he got 200, he should get 201. Because of what he's done. So. I'm just, we're gonna keep our eyes on that situation and see what happens along the line.
If I was advising someone whose financial situation was changing, I would tell them that's where your team comes into place, and that's actually where a financial advisor would come into place as well, to really help you figure out, okay, how much money do you have, and then how much money are you going to need to last over your life, to figure out, okay, how much now do I need to do my budget for? And I know it doesn't sound good having a budget and feeling like, oh, I'm going to be constrained, but you got to think that this money that you are getting is a lot more than majority of the world. To make six figures is a blessing. So to even just, so somewhere in that, you just got to realize, okay, I've been able to leverage sports. Now I need to come up with a plan. And I would say also think of ways of how you can generate money. How can you make that $1 that you have turn into $2? Start thinking about some passive income, real estate. I was always taught that dirt is the best thing that you can buy because it's always appreciating. So go ahead and get into real estate. Start learning different traits while you still have that brand as well, and leverage it. Figure out what else are you passionate about. Get into a franchise. Make sure you do your research on all this stuff and your due diligence. But there are so many different ways of where you can take your money, put it to work, that can really just help you generate another source of income. That's the key to wealth wherever you're at.
Absolutely.
Is multiple streams of income. Don't rely on one source.
So I think what you also want to make clear, if you don't mind, and speaking of, we got to understand the breakdown, because Uncle Sam got to get his money too.
Oh yes.
You know what I'm saying? So when a kid get 10 million, right? Let's say you
Yes.
get 10 million a year. So off the rip, that's 6 million, right? 40% or more, right, goes to Uncle Sam. And then just touch on some of the other costs and things that go into that, where they're gonna have to, so it doesn't be. So when people say, okay, he get 10 million, you got to know first that Uncle Sam gonna get his money off the top because of that bracket.
And I'm super conservative. I cut it 50%. Let's just go ahead and say that, because you really never know where you're going to live depending on the team that you go to. So if you're making 10, I'll say now you need to start thinking about 5 million. And then on top of that too, you don't get your contract money right up front in a lump sum. Some people do, some people don't, depending on how the contract is structured. But start to think about that. When is the money coming? Is it coming after every game? Are you getting it up front? Are you getting per year? So start thinking about the cash flow of when you're actually getting that money, so that you can plan that all out as well. But some other expenses are, if a car, what kind of car do you have? Do you have a high maintenance car? Are you going to be able to keep that up? Did you buy your house? Did you rent your house? You're going to have to think about that. Do you have that ongoing rent that you're going to have to keep up? Or did you buy it and you have that mortgage? Did you pay for it flat out, or are you paying for it monthly? So different things like that you have to take into consideration. And then also, who are you supporting?
Right.
Do you have kids? Are you supporting your parents? Are you supporting your cousins and aunts and uncles? Those are things you got to think about as well.
Right. So let me ask you a question. So in terms of that, when you supporting, do you recommend that perhaps starting business for those people that's close to you? So can you touch on that?
Absolutely. So that's what I want to do. That's what I do for my clients, is that I set up, everyone will have an LLC. So instead of someone coming and saying, hey, because it's going to happen, your best friend from years ago, your cousin, your person that you just met is going to come up to you and tell you, I have this great idea and I would love for you to invest in it. First, teach them how to create a financial plan. A business plan, more so. Teach them how to create a business plan so that you can see, okay, they put in all the work to think this fully through. It's not just a, hey, I got a great idea, can you give me some money, and I'm just going to go out and do it. So by telling them to come up with a business plan, already that's helping them structure that business to think long term. Then creating an LLC. And the reason why this is very beneficial as well is, let's say, worst case scenario. And actually, eventually you are going to have to retire.
Right.
Everybody, there's a stopping point for an athlete because it's our bodies at the end of the day.
Right.
The thing is that if you already have all these LLCs of investments that you have made, now if you wanted to go, you had somebody say, hey, I do hair and I would like to get a salon. Can you invest in a salon for me? Create an LLC for them, get that set up. Just say now that you can go and you can be a CEO of that. Now that's generating money for you as well by helping someone else as well. And then you can also write off the expenses. So it's a huge tax benefit too. But I highly recommend setting up businesses for those people who might, that you're supporting, and get them on the payroll.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I've had situations, I'm just going to talk about my own personal situation. I have a grandson. He wants to play basketball. He said he wants to play basketball, but when you have to do the work, he don't want to do the work. So it's been a struggle with me just because I'm so passionate about the game and I know what it takes in this and anything else in life to be successful. But what I didn't want to do is, hurt the relationship that we have. And so what I said to him then, okay, if you're not going to push yourself in this, right? You just want to play, you go play pickup and stuff like that or whatever. We're going to get a job, okay? We're going to get a job. We'll get your LLC. We're going to start your little business, right? Online, sell T-shirts, tie-dye socks or something. You're going to do something, right? So you can start opening his mind with entrepreneurship. So how important is having our young people, as well as the athlete, start to think about entrepreneurship, because that's the only way any of us really is going to get beyond where we are. Is we have to start trying to develop our children to own, and we have to think in those realms as well.
Absolutely, and I love how you started to open that for him at such a young age. And even just, sports is great, but exposing athletes to something else beyond that as well is huge. And letting them know that there's other ways, but ownership. That's why it's better to own a property versus renting it and paying someone else's mortgage to have that. But owning a business and being an entrepreneur, that is key. That's how you build true wealth. And so what I would say is getting them to just get that exposure, getting them to be introduced to different people as well, and asking questions. What is the day-to-day like? Get them to shadow an entrepreneur in different realms to see what it really takes, and ask them, who do you want to be like? And then they will pick somebody. Okay, well, did you see how much time that they put in? That's what it takes. Because so many times people see the glory, the fame, the end results at the end of the day. But they don't see the behind the closed doors as far as the adversity that they have to go through. When things might be going good one moment and then they're going horrible the next, and you're like, am I in the right thing? Right. But that push through, that perseverance, getting them to see those traits of what it takes is the most important thing. And just letting them know it is okay to fail.
It's okay to fail. That's a very powerful word. But I think it all starts with opening their minds. You got to be open. And then the other thing is you got to be responsible and you got to be accountable.
Yes.
And I think those two things, getting them early to be responsible and accountable. For example, I'm making my grandson pay a bill.
That's really good.
Pay a bill. You got to pay one of these bills for your mother.
So they can see the cost of living.
They can see the cost of living. And I told my daughter, I mentioned to her, I said, look, show him some of the expenses, show him what goes out, show him what comes in. So he can start understanding, because our kids now, because we give them so much, and they have this sense of entitlement, right? And so we have to be creative in terms of opening their minds to get them to understand that, hey man, you got to get ready for life. We got to prepare you for life, not playing basketball. Basketball is good, but then it's life after basketball. And so, having that understanding, just open mind about finances and things of that nature, it's just going to help them be a better, well-rounded human being. I think it's so important, and, pass to your kids, your grandkids, etc. Generational. And you always use the word generational wealth. You know what I'm saying? When you pass it down, you keep passing it. So, and we got to get in that mind frame. So, yeah. And
in all honesty, too, I want to share a personal story. Is that it's how I got into this business, and I talk about the generational wealth. But I'm not wealth. I'm actually, what my parents passed down to me was that financial knowledge.
Yes.
And so the same things that you're doing for your grandson right now, when your daughters, is that they are going to remember that stuff. Even if you think that they're not, they will. And it's making a huge impact. At the early age of 5 years old, my mother created this game with my brother and I where we'd collect coins around the house. We'd put them in this big like Coca-Cola piggy bank jar that everybody knows about, that famous Coca-Cola jar. And
Yes.
once it filled all the way up, we would take it to the bank. She taught us about a checking account and a savings account, how to actually write a check. But she would always say, this money's not for now, it's for the future. And she was also teaching us how little things can add up to big results. Yes, we were collecting pennies and dimes, but that turned into $10, $100, thousands of dollars. And I got to see the growth. It didn't just happen immediately, but it was slowly happening. In middle school, my parents made me write the bills for the household, and that's when I learned, okay, those little pennies and everything. They're not going to pay the light for the light,
exactly.
the electricity, the water bill, those things that, okay, I got to make a lot more.
Yes.
And money does not grow on trees. And these are the necessities. Just to have a roof over your head, it's expensive.
Yes.
And then when I finally got my first job, I would take half of my income, I'd put it in savings, and the other half was all that I had to live off of. Tricking my mind to live below my means, because I knew that the cost of living was going to be important and expensive, but also thinking, okay, this money is long term.
Right.
And those things still stay with me to this day. Parents dropped the word of just a 401k to me, and I never knew, but he would just keep on just dropping. And so when I got my first job, I was like, I need my 401k. And they were like, who's this girl who walks in so young asking about a 401k,
Wow.
just thinking about retirement already?
Yes.
And still just with my own personal funds, I pay myself first. I pay my 401k, IRA, HSA, my just regular investment account, my savings account, my travel. I do all that, and I live like I'm broke.
Yes.
But I also know that I'm going to be living very well later on in life when that income stops coming in. So I think it's really important. I just want to tell you, congratulations, keep on doing that. I promise you, those seeds that you are planting are going to be, they're going to blossom. And I tell any parent out there listening to this, start early. They might act like they're not listening, but they are listening. They're going to remember that voice inside of their heads.
Absolutely. Well, I think the hardest thing is, with everything that's going on, because whether people agree or not, we are in a recession. I truly believe we're in a recession. So money is kind of tight for everybody right now. And, the cost of living is going up, food, everything is going up. And so, but it's kind of hard, it's harder to what I call delayed gratification, because you trying to make ends meet and make things, because you got a lot of people living from paycheck to paycheck. But then you got a lot of people. See, my thing is a lot of times when people say I can't afford that, people can afford what they want to. That's just a word. So it's all about budgeting and doing what you got to do to make that happen. Just making sure that we implement, put it in with our children early, man. So they just open their minds about, hey, man, this is real. This money don't grow on trees. This is what has to happen. This is how you got to start thinking, because we had to grind to get it. So. Yeah, that's good stuff.
But I think it goes, yes, we are in a recession, going in a recession. And I will say that you are right, going back to those things that you're trying to teach your grandson, is the discipline and the accountability. Money, I don't care who you are. If I give you $1 million, it will go. You can spend it on a million things before you even know it.
Yes.
But if you have that discipline and that accountability of somebody saying, "Hey, you got this," or you're trying to strive for something better, that's when that discipline comes in as well. So those are the two biggest things that you need, regardless of whatever situation you're in,
Absolutely.
if you want to be successful.
Guy told me one time. He said, older Jim. He said, man, one thing about money, it don't come with instructions.
No, it does not.
So you got to make sure you do what's right and do the right things. So we talking about, being wealthy, just explain the difference between being wealthy and being rich. Let's just go there, because a lot of people don't know the difference. There's a lot of people that look rich. Like a lot of people who really have money, they don't want to look like they got money. You know what I mean? So kind of explain the importance of that, just, delaying gratification. Everybody want to look good. Everybody want to feel good. But the people that got the most money, they don't want you to know they got the money. They don't dress. They don't wear, all the designer stuff. They just, do what's necessary. So explain to the audience the difference between rich and being wealthy.
In very simple terms, I will say rich is being able to buy a Lamborghini. Being wealthy is being able to buy like 10 Lamborghinis. What I mean by that is that being rich is just being in the short term, having all those nice things that you're talking about, as far as just the appearance. You might have a nice fancy car, nice house, nice clothes, but like $0 in your bank account because you've been, or in debt actually, more so, because you're trying to keep up with this lifestyle right now, and you're not even thinking about the rest of your future. Being wealthy is being able to afford all your necessities, being able to afford all your necessities. If there is something that you do want, you can't afford it, but you also are thinking like you can multiply it as well. Before you just go out and buy a nice car, you're thinking, okay, do I really need it? Is it a need or a want? How is this really going to help me? Are you really going to be able to do the things that you need to do down the road and
Yes.
really be able to take care of your family and then also take care of the next generation as well? That's a huge thing that I've seen with a lot of wealthy people. What they do actually is they actually help the next generation. What I mean by that is that they are helping their grandkids.
Right.
What you are doing right now, that's what the wealthy do. That's the mindset that they have. So you're helping your grandkids, then he's going to go and help the next, and it's a skip cycle that keeps on going. And so there's layers to it.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. But I know for a fact, right? Like, and I've seen it myself. You know, certain people who have, you know, wealth, they don't even eat at the best restaurants, or, you know, it's like they real modern, you know, they just simple. Everything is just simple. And the hardest thing, because like I said, is that delaying that for gratification. That is so hard because of everything that's going on. But what I will say is you first have to have the knowledge. You first have to be open to learn. You first have to be open to want to do better. You know, it's kind of like alcoholic. If you don't admit that I got a problem, I want to do better, then you can't get better. So we have to stay open to learn more, and so that we can give more. And then I think once we do that, we head in the right direction. But I will say, we have all this money, all the resources, but if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And so I just want to say to everybody out there, you know, it's all about being healthy, mind, body, and soul. You know, the wealth and all the other stuff would come. You know, make sure that you build yourself up with so much good stuff, and so that life start punching holes in you. And educate yourself, inform yourself. I remember back in the day, if we wanted information, we had to go and get a encyclopedia, look in the book and read it. They say, you know, you want to hide something from people like us, you know, hide in the book. You know what I'm saying? But now you got access, man, total access to everything. And so it's no excuses, man. You just got to want to do more. There's so much information that's available, and I would say take advantage of it. And if you get a chance to get with somebody like Danielle to help you manage, Miss Morgan, to help you manage your finances, this couldn't be a better person, man, because she's helped me with a lot of stuff, and I'm just telling you, and I've been so pleased with her, along with helping us with our program. So I just want to thank you so much, first of all, for coming on again, but then also giving the audience all this valuable information, and then working with my program. Like all the kids, the parents, they talk about you today. Like kids are even having conversations with their moms about money because of the experiences that you had with them. So I just want to really thank you for that, and continue to do well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me on the show, and thank you just for the mentorship, the allowing me to be in the program, but also just the training that you've given me throughout my career as well. I would not have not been able to play college ball if it wasn't for you. I wouldn't have been a well-rounded player if it wasn't for you, and I honestly wouldn't be here either. Just because what you mentioned, that mindset is so crucial. And we talked about it, whether it's in wealth or whether it's in your career, you need that mindset, that discipline, all that, the character traits, that's super important. So who you surround yourself by is very, very important. So think twice about it. But thank you for being in my life, Coach Bo, and thank you for allowing me on the show.
Thank you for coming, baby. Thank you. We out, man. See y'all next time.
Bye.